Good afternoon. I'm your moderator. My name is Helmuts. Originally, I'm from Latvia, Lettonia. I'm well traveled. I've studied in Korea, played a little basketball in America, absolutely was destroyed, and I run Domain Summit. The fourth event just happened in London. We will start Domain Summit Africa, Domain Summit Asia, and I will be your moderator here. And out of three, we have two amazing people. And let me. Can I ask you quickly, who is going for new GTLDs? Just in case, who has some interest in new GTLDs?
You mean registering one domain or owning the GTLD?
Owning your own TLD, so .com but .France, for example. If you manage to get a signature from Macron, of course, or helping the clients. So Krista is helping the clients. Anyone else is interested? No?
I'm interested from the side, just to look at it.
And who is also interested in investing in domain names and living abroad in the sun? Okay.
Abroad?
Living abroad, you know, the dream that you live and you live somewhere sunny, and there is sun, there is sea, and just money keeps coming in. Ka-ching. Pinocchio dream. Is anyone interested in that one as well? just not Sebastian. Sebastian needs to take care of his bees. So yes, so maybe we can start with introducing Gio.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So my name is Giuseppe Graziano. I'm originally from Italy, but I spent time in different countries. And now I live in Dubai, so I live in the sun. And I run GGRG, which is a brokerage and consulting company. And this is known because we publish a report every quarter, which talks about very short domains like TrueLetter, FreeLetter, moderator.coms. And we brokered some, nice names. And also we run a podcast called The Breakfast Club with the director of aftermarket of GoDaddy, which is there's this Britton Pollock, which is our investor, and the other one.
Nick Polnix?
No.
Yes, so he's...
This is like an amnesia. Yeah, it will come. I'll let you know. But yeah.
Okay. And another Italian?
Another Italian, so we make 100% of the panel so far. Sorry. My name is Alessandro Baruffi. I've been in the domain industry for well over 15 years, both on the registrar and registry side. And now I work for a registry based out of the UK. It's .it.com. You can register your name in .it.com, which is aimed at the information technology or a generic extension in .com. And I look after the partnership with the channel and the registrar in a very traditional registrar model. Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, do we have domain investors here? Yes? Domain investors and SEOs. So for Giuseppe, what are today the floor prices of 3L, 4L, and new remix? And let us touch just .coms, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so since it's a small room, do you guys know what is the liquid domains like TrueLetter, FreeLetter, 4letter.coms? Are you familiar with this concept? Because it's a very small room, so we can also keep it like an open conversation. So FreeLetter domains are just a combination of all the domains with only FreeLetter, so it's about 17,500 more or less. And right now, like as of today, the floor price is meaning like the minimum price at which you can sell one of these FreeLetter.com domains. It's about 10 to 15,000. That's really the minimum that you will get for your domains if you want to sell. So this is interesting for investors because if you're actually able to find one domain below the price, below the floor price, then you're able to resell it at a margin. And instead for 4letter.coms, we're talking about $100 per domain name. And 4 letters are the combination of 4 character domain names.
And what is the median price of 3letter.coms currently that you are buying domains for your clients or they are trying to sell?
It depends, because for example, like 3letter.coms, I do not work a lot. I focus more like on true letters. But for example, like I own a few TrueLetter.coms, and just like the other day, I just got one of those direct email of brokers wanting to buy, and it was like a starting offer of 25,000. And for a normal domain, like let's say for a domain that is not the worst combinations, I think it's a fair like initial offer.
And what are the letters?
It's okay. I can tell you, it's like true Western premium letters, and the third one is an X.
Can you please explain what are Western premium letters and
Yes.
what are Asian premium letters?
Yeah, so,
Thank
okay, this is a very good question. So especially, I think this is very important for somebody who's starting out and trying to understand the different combination. So initially, there was the Western premium letters. So Western premium letters are all the letters that don't include all the non-common letters like Y, Z, W, all like
Q.
Q, like all the letters that are not super common. And this was, and this rule was in place for like a very long time until Chinese investors came. And Chinese investors have a different way of evaluating letters. And for them, all the letters are premium except for the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and the letter V. And the reason for this is because in their, like in their language, in the pinyin, there's no syllable that starts with those letters. So whenever you want to make an acronym in China, you don't use the vowel. And so because of that, the domains that used to contain those vowels or the letter V were considered like less valuable. Now, this was especially true, I mean, we're talking about history, so this was especially true around when there was the boom of Chinese domain, which was 2015, 2016. Nowadays, if I have to give an advice today about people who are looking for domains, Western premium is still what you want to look at. If a domain is composed by 3 Western premium letters, it can command at least 25,000 or more. And also, in terms of metrics, like an objective metric that you can look at is the number of extensions taken. So for example, you can look it up in a site like .db, and it can tell you how many other combination of that combination is registered in other extension. For example, let's say house.com. It's probably registered in other 300 combinations, so it's a lot. But if it's already like, let's say 100 combination, then it means the domain is actually quite valuable, and it's probably worth at least $100,000. So that's so just to recap, 1, I will look at the quality of the letter, Western premium, and 2, I will look at the number of extension registered in that combination.
And just a quick one, I do have different questions as both Italian gentlemen are totally different. Well, I will have 3 questions for each, and then we can start asking. So if you have any questions, so about 3-letter dollars, maybe about Italian, or maybe about French domains, if Gio has experimented them. So just write down the questions, and then we'll ask them. So Alessandro, you are now in IT.com. You initially started Intis Telecom. Yes, they bought it for themselves, and then decided to go in and selling subdomains.
Yeah, when we acquired IT.com, it was the biggest premium sale of 2019 or something like that. And initially,
Yes.
our CEO Andrea thought maybe to use it for Intis Telecom, and then it was a bit of overkilling. So I thought I can do something better for this extension, and given to his passion for domain and for the IT, thought it would be perfect as a third-level domain. As a registry. So we decided to build our own infrastructure, our own backend, and to offer it as an extension, like it works like a .com on the third level. That's a bit of history of IT.com.
So usually people would trust, businesses would trust more putting business on a clear domain than a subdomain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What is the experience of IT.com, and what are the cases of active websites and businesses on IT.com domains?
It's very important, especially even more so for us to keep a very clean zone with a very high reputation. And the main thing is that domain name they're resolved to a website. Now, of course, for business is already established, the registration will be for to protect their brand and just forward IT.com to their movie.com or .it website. But we see it's very important to have an adoption of a really website or new businesses that actually use .it.com as a main domain and even a main site. And we do have typically a small IT firm that they can get a very nice short name with IT identify that they are in the IT industry, and IT be recognized universally. I think even in France, the technology information of IT it's widely used in pretty much almost all languages. That's the typical use. We see a lot.
And which ones are? Let us say someone from you wishes to buy a two-letter domain, FR, and let us try selling domain names, subdomains for, let us say, €1 a year. Let us say, just running an experiment. So what are your experience of what are the websites that are actually developed?
So there are like IT firms or a freelancer that identify themselves as IT. We have many of them. We have also in Italy for IT.com. Italy is a special market because it's not only IT, but also IT stands for Italy. So we have like a directory, for instance, the correspondent of municipality.it.com, which is a list of information about the different the comuni, so you can look them up. That's one fully fledged website.
Is that an official?
It's like
okay.
so comune.it.com. We have or you can also the use of there are a few hundreds of domains that are a call to action. You can make get at.com or code.it.com or and you can really build a business around that because in your name is already you can establish a fully fledged business around it. You can think about jobs.it.com. It has it's a service that offer jobs or put together job seeker and employer in the IT industry. So that already define the business that can be developed. And we want to incentive those more and more and publish those in newsletter to really show the case that and you work for new business effectively.
Okay, thank you. And Gio, so those who do not know, Gio moved from Italy and you are fluent in Chinese or more or less?
I would say more or less. I wouldn't say like fluent in Chinese.
Have you lived in China as well?
For 3 years, yeah.
For 3 years.
True.
And why did you choose Dubai over China? And what is your experience? So 1 year living in Dubai, from the business perspective, selling, buying domains, and dealing with companies. What are your lessons?
Okay, so first question is that why I moved to...
We are recording just in case, so I'm not sure how...
How deep can I go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should ask.
No, so I live in a few different places. Like China was a long time back in 2008, 2010, and it was great. From then afterwards, I spent 10 years in Portugal, and after spending 10 years there, I just from both ease of doing business, also in terms of impact of taxes, because if you're like a domain investor, of course, like how much you pay in taxes impact how much you can invest. So it's and also the ease of doing business and bureaucracy. I think that was like an important factor as well. Plus the the lifestyle factor of just being in a place with the sun and the sea and so on. So I decided to move to Dubai. In terms of the lessons after 1 year. First of all, you can, if you just look at the industry, and if you look at the people who are, a lot of domain investors, a lot of them actually move to Dubai. And the reason for it is because it's, again, the main reason is taxes. But I know also some that they will tell me, like, even if this will change, I will probably still stay here because I enjoy the lifestyle so much. So I prefer to stay in Dubai. And in terms of payments, it's very easy to get a company set up. It's something you can do, some free zones they can open the company within 1 hour. Getting the visa takes a little bit longer. I would say probably between 2 to 4 weeks, depending also like on the method, and there's like different steps and different ways to get a visa. But after that, you just need to open a bank account, which is also quite straightforward. There's a lot of online banking where you don't even need to go to a bank. You just need to complete KYC online through just like submitting documents. So all that is like, it's very straightforward. It's a little bit different from, let's say, for someone used to like European, doing, and I recently set up a company in Europe as well. There's less red tape, but also you need, like the steps you need to take, you need to make sure that you really follow them strictly. They're very strict. And
For example?
Something you will be surprised. For example, there's KYC for everything. Like even let's say, even if you have like a rental agreement, you need to prove source of funds. So a lot of people think, oh, Dubai, anything goes. No, like everything is because for some period, especially after 2022, there was this brief period in which Dubai was put in the grey list, and so they really made like a very strong effort to make sure that everything is is on track and compliance to the highest standard. So for everything you need to do, there's also there's always a KYC, even for things that we don't need to do KYC in Europe.
Okay, and receiving monies?
So receiving money. So most of the
Is it easy for European businesses, American businesses to transfer funds to your Dubai bank account, or?
okay, so you have to see also the type of business that you do. So for most domain investors, I would assume that they will get most of their transaction either through an escrow service, which let's say is escrow.com or escrow domains or other escrow services, or through like a sales platform like let's say Afternic or GoDaddy. So in that case, yes, it's very easy. Also, the local currency that you have in the UAE, it's the dirhams, and the dirham is pegged to the dollar. So it's almost like, for the people who are more familiar with crypto, it's almost like the dirham is a stable coin of the dollar, pretty much. So the conversion rate, it's always very fair. Like the FX transaction and the charges is very low. So yeah, it's just super easy to get a transaction. Sometimes you will get payments, they're super fast. They will send the payment overnight, the morning after you receive it from the US. Never had any issues. Now, I'm aware there could be some European businesses that because their tax legislation classify UAE as a blacklisted country, they might have issues, making payments. But I mean, realistically, in domain names, most of the payments that will not come from European countries, and
So
if they do, they come from.
in reality, no issues.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Alessandro, big job for IT.com is go after registrars, new registrars. We know that most TLDs that exist out there, they do not approach registrars. They are lazy, and many are single man operated. And how do you approach the new registrars? Which ones are free? Which ones are extremely expensive?
Well, it's getting more and more complicated to get some shelf space because there are so many extensions out there. So people don't realize how much effort it takes to actually get your TLD in front of the end user through the channel. So one of the things that was a channel, but also a strong point, is that we develop our own backend. So that requires the registrar to run a little integration work, EPP integration, to get .it.com. So we don't work with outsourced backend that you can just easily plug in. So in a way that makes our work a little more difficult. At the same time, it was probably the best thing to do because you want to really have ownership of your technical infrastructure, and that also allow us to offer it as a RSP to other registers. Maybe something that we're talking about maybe later. But for a registrar, I think we've done a very good job. If you look at the top 20 registrars in the world, we already work with like 50%, and we launched 2 years ago. We launched in spring 2023 with the Sunrise, so we're really like 2 years into the business.
They have huge backlog. Let us say some of here people will want to apply, or the clients will want to go for the new GTLD.
Mhm.
One thing is to get the new GTLD. Now is what would you say to a new GTLD or a consultant of new GTLD, judging from your experience, as all the registrars, they are overloaded, and plus, how many do you think in the next round, how many TLDs will be there? Krista, 5,000 applications?
My bet is at least 3,000.
At least 3,000. So let us say,
127.
What?
I thought you were giving like a very precise answer.
so,
I'm doing Price is Right rules on that.
so let us say 3,000. Let us say 3,000 new GTLDs come out, and there are not that many registrars, especially the
true.
top tier, and they are all overloaded with work.
Yeah, for us, it worked very well the timing because we launched in 23. There is this like big window that we didn't have many new extension coming on. But there is the Mobi now. They've been waiting for many years, but they haven't been really busy on board in new extensions. So we managed to get our integration work prioritized. So it worked out timing very well for us. And as an approach registrar, we want to be the most reseller or register friendly registry. We go out to event. We like to meet in person, so to make us stand out a bit from the crowd. They have to
Plus
make yourself known as sponsorship. Yeah, we've been on the road for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge investment, which paid off. But yeah, it's to show the value for the long run. And in terms of a new extension, as said, since we develop our backend, we're in a position to offer it to new TLD or brands, or even CCTLD. They're looking to maybe change provider and all of that. And that's also crowded space with a lot of competition. But we think that they will help our business as IT.com to have other extensions that will serve on our platform, and to raise your credibility and be more and more into the ecosystem.
So your suggestion for a new GTLD, let us say Gautier, the Gautier's client wishes to go for new GTLD, what would you suggest? How they would approach? How big needs to be the team? Let us say they want to get GoDaddy. GoDaddy, Bluehouse, Team Internet Central Link. Let us start with 3.
Well, since
Based on your
we're well connected. To say we already more than 50% of 20 registrars, and it's keep growing. So it's important as a new TLD coming on board, knowing they already have the connection with the GoDaddies and all the big player. That's a technical integration. However, that's not enough, because then they will have to convince the GoDaddies and likes to actually promote it and on their site, and so that can be a very expensive business. But it depends, because a TLD can be successful even with a few thousand domain under management. So it depends really if you want to go for the mass market or not. So, but that the approach can be very, very different.
Okay, thank you. Jill, there are big domain investors who are profitable, successful, smart, who live in Dubai, and then our industry is, once we understand domain investing, 95% are broke. Let us be honest, 90% broke. And probably French market is exactly the same. Domain investors are like gamblers, everything is in. A person wants to go into .com. Let us say a French domain investor wants to go in .com and wants to be successful. What could be the cheat code or that special formula for a small guy to go against big drop catchers?
Oof, it's an interesting question. So I would say everybody who kind of succeeded as like as a domain investor, he did that through, let's say, like trial and error. What I would say is that where a lot of small investors, they might misalign their focus, it's on the individual sales. So for example, they will, be very excited that they bought a domain for like $100, and then they resold it for 2,000, and you say, okay, I got a 20x return, and this is great. But the problem is, you really have to look at domain investing as a business, meaning that rather than focusing on the return that you have on one single domain, you have to focus on the return that you have on your portfolio. And by that, it means that you really need to know the numbers. And so, let's give some practical example. So most domain investors, even like the largest ones, they would say that they will get a sell-through rate, like a percentage of the portfolio that they sell each year, that is between, let's say, 0.5% to 4% of their portfolio. Meaning, let's say you buy 100 domains and each one you pay $100. On average, you will only sell 1 to 4 domains per year. And you need to be comfortable with the fact that the whole return that you're going to have from that portfolio is going to be only those 1 to 4 sales per year, and that has to cover both your renewals and also has to cover also whatever you want to reinvest in the business. And sometimes it's not a lot, depending on your margins. So the main advice that I would suggest is, one, just look at your portfolio as a business. Don't just focus on I made X on one domain, because that is not relevant. You really have to focus on the full return of your investment portfolio. The second one, is very good advice, is don't focus on what you like, focus on what the market wants. A lot of people, for example, I think this domain is great. Yeah, sure, but like, how can you, if you want it to be as objective as possible, like, how would you know that this domain actually is something that would be in demand? And then just understand it's like a numbers game, and it's a waiting game. So you have to price your portfolio well, you have to list, your domains in the right places, and you need to be comfortable with the fact that you're gonna make only a few sales per year. And if you can do that, then you can start to invest more and more and start to compound your capital. And if you realize that it's making like less than 10% per year, then it's better you invest in ETFs. It's no point investing in domain. It's less stressful, like you have less things to do.
Less renewals as well.
Less renewals as well. But so so the other, like the very common path that a lot of investors do is that when they start, they focus on smaller prices names. But because of that, they can move domains very fast, but it takes a lot of work because you need to constantly rebuy and reinvest the capital in order to recompound. But then when I see like the very successful domain investors, they have very small portfolio. You would see sometimes they have like 500 domains or 1,000 domains, like a very, very small but all of them, they're very valuable. And because they're high quality domains, one, you're always able to resell them at the same price that you buy them for, at the investor price, while you can't do that for lower valued items. Like if you buy a domain for $200, it's unlikely that you're gonna resell it to another person for $200. Same thing for the Dropcatching, like names that it depends on the name you drop catch. And because of that, because they have a smaller portfolio, the sell-through rate becomes higher. The higher quality of your names, the higher your sell-through rate. And the less work you need to do, because now you need to manage only a portfolio of a couple hundred names. So you have less carrying costs, like your renewal costs are lower, and you're gonna have like higher margin and better quality of life as well.
So let us talk cheat code. What would you do? Let us say you have a French cousin,
Yeah.
and he has 5,000 euros.
Yeah.
And what would you tell to your French cousin? He understands SEO, he understands websites, thinks that he understands domain investing.
Yeah.
What would you tell your French cousin with 5,000 euros?
Yeah, first of all, like I think understanding SEO and understanding website doesn't add much value like for the general. And then the main thing is also like, what is your goals? What you wanna do? Do you wanna?
He wants to make money.
Okay, but how
Yes.
much money? Do you want to double your money? Do you want to make? Are you happy with 20%?
He wants to go over the moon. He wants to have Lamborghini, live near Louvre somewhere, God knows. Yes.
Yeah, then basically you're looking at a
He wants
lottery
it all.
ticket.
Yes.
Yeah. But not much time.
Of course.
right away? It's the only way is to gamble, right?
Basically, he wants to
know.
be
really?
he wants to be profitable. Yeah, he wants to have a good life, and he wants to try his luck in the main investing.
Okay. So I
Richard?
think actually Richard is a great person
no,
like
no,
to answer
no,
this question.
please,
But
please,
I will
please
tell
continue.
I will tell you like my
Yes.
side. Just focus on, let's say, like half of the budget. Let's say half of this, like $5,000. Just invest it in a very good name. Like try to get the best name that you get at below investor price. That's super important because in that case you can at least have the margin when you resell it. The other ones still buy good names, probably in something that has a little bit more upside potential, like for example, though they are recently the has some.
This is
pretty-
not a financial advice.
Yeah.
Let us go now immediately.
No, this.
With .ai.
No, not financial, not
Yeah.
and not tax advice as well, like from what we covered up there before. Yeah, just focus on good names. Don't try to register. Don't go and try to register new names. Try to understand what people want. Spend all the time doing the research. Pick like 2 to 3 names that are good. Buy them below investor price, and you already, if you buy, let's say, even 20% below investor price, you already have that margin, and you can start to compound.
And do you think that would be doable for your cousin? And then I will go to Richard.
If he has a lot of time and will to figure it out, yes, everything is possible. If the soul is not small.
Let us say, no, in reality, there
Yeah.
is a theory and then there is a real life.
Yeah.
So do you think it's doable?
It is doable. Yeah, I mean,
For most
the
people,
question
yes, for
you want to ask
most.
yourself is like, is that the fastest way? Is domain names like the fastest way to compound my money in a way that is safe and secure? I mean, it depends on what you know. Domain names, if you know a lot about the industry, the good thing is that it's a very small industry and a lot of the data is available there, so you can always find it out. But if you approach it as a gambling, if you approach it as, I just want to double my money as soon as possible, it's tough.
Okay, so ladies lady and gentlemen, the 5,000 euro didn't come out of the thin air. Before, now someone is smiling. Do you know why? Did you start domain investing with 5,000 euro?
$5,000, yeah.
Bang.
I put.
Here's a real story. And what is your net value now? If
Oh, I
may.
can't say that.
So, by the way, one of the most successful domain name investors in the world, Richard from Canada.
Thanks.
And not only that.
Sorry, I'm late. I was looking on the website instead of the official program. Yeah, as Helmut said, I've been in domain names for 25 years. I've worn all of the hats. So yeah, I started with $5,000 on a credit card. I should be lucky. Yeah.
Not financial advice.
Yeah. Super high risk. But I bought traffic domains, so I knew the domain name. I didn't spend that $5,000 on hand registrations. I was buying them in the secondary market, and I had guessed or estimated that they would be receiving type-in traffic, and so then took those domains, married them with. I did zero-click back in 2002. I contacted the advertisers directly and I said, I have these domain names in this niche, would you pay me per visitor? And I didn't know it was zero-click back then. I was just trying to hustle up some money. And that worked out very well. I was able to get some advertisers that were paying me 4 cents a visitor, 8 cents a visitor, which as a CPM was quite high. I've also, but in terms of your question, like if you're starting with 5,000 euros, what would you do with that? When you're buying a domain name or buying a portfolio of domain names, and then you're waiting for someone to come and buy them off you, it's a challenging, patient business, right? That's why I've been in this business 25 years. I still have some domains that I registered or bought 25 years ago that I'm still waiting for a buyer. So if your cousin or nephew or is wanting to take that 5,000 and compound it quickly. Woof, it's tough. I would, rather than taking that 5,000 and just buying domain names and then waiting, I would take a more active role where I'd spend that 5,000 going to conferences, learning, taking courses, and becoming somewhat of an expert and become a buyer's broker. And then help people that are in the business community acquire domain names and take a fee for that, 10, 15, 20% as a buyer's fee. You have, when you're buying a house, there's houses all around us, right? Apartment buildings, apartments, you don't just go and try and buy it yourself, you engage the services of an agent. When you're a business and you're wanting to buy a domain name, you shouldn't just be looking on who is and firing off an email. You should use the services of an agent. So to me, if you're just wanting to get started, that is what I would do, because you're going to learn on someone else's dime.
And
yeah.
what is your percentage? You've shared it already publicly.
If you're charging if you're acting as a buyer's broker, you should charge between 10 and 20%. 10% being the discounted rate, 20% just being standard rate. The lower the price of the domain name that you're acquiring, the higher the percentage, right? So if you're acquiring a domain name for 5,000 euros on behalf of a company, you've got to charge at least 1,000 euros for your services. But if you're acquiring and they've got a budget of 20, 50,000, then yeah, you can go down to 10.
And if I may, I always love the money questions, and you've done a significant number of successful acquisitions for your clients this year.
Yeah,
Can you share some numbers?
sure, in the last.
And then French are very good with numbers, so you can run the commissions in your heads.
Sure.
And why this is a good advice.
In 2020, so in the last 12 months, some of the high value ones are like Hill.com, HILL.com, and Story.com, both acquired for clients of mine. And those are on payment plans. So those are 5-year payment plans, because both of those domains are in the 7 figures. So I will receive my commission as the payments are made, which is, just to put it out there, if you talk with like GoDaddy and they want to, they're acquiring a domain name or doing a domain name transaction for bottle.com, and it's a payment plan for 5 years, and it's 20,000 euros per month for that. Well, GoDaddy will say, okay, well, 20,000 times 60 months times our 20%, we want that in the first payment. And as a buyer, the buyer is just scratching their head like, I have to pay GoDaddy, the broker, fully up front. And GoDaddy, you're the one bringing me the customer. Like, where's the value or the belief in your customer? So that's something else that you could, as a buyer's broker, you're offering to be on the same page as everyone in the party. So you take your commission as the payments are coming in. It's a significant but small difference to the buyer. So yeah, that's as an example.
So before we go to the questions, one more question to Alessandro, then one more question to Richard, and then we'll go open questions, so we have time. Thank you. So Alessandro, running subdomains or running your own GTLD, there is a cost of monitoring the network. How do you monitor IT.com domains? And can you share some numbers also?
Yes, it's one of the premises to keep our namespace with our reputation very clean. So we do a very active monitoring of registration. For instance, we we're blocking some strings, and we really have try to have a close detection of possible issues. Now we just launched, so numbers are still relatively small, but so it's something that's been developed. But we do look at registration almost real time and try to avoid any malicious or possible issue. That's very important, and we think that's also a way to stand out from other registries. So it's very important. Again, number still, the registration. We wrapped up the last year, and we're getting into 100,000 domains right now. But the last, say, 80,000 registered over the last maybe 10 months to 1 year. So it's developing right now. But that's monitoring is key.
And let us say a new GTLD possible owner or consultant now watches this or sits here and is. So what can you say? Are you using in-house tools, or at some point you had casino sites, you had some illegal piracy sites that were, you dealt with it really well.
Yeah, we look at the combination, like we still outsource service, but we are developing our own and building on that expertise and being able to offer that to other GD. They'll be on our back end. So,
That will be included in your backend.
Yeah, we developed that, and all the BI and all the services that could be an added value. So we try to keep it as much as possible and complement it with what's out there.
Okay, and now I need to choose from 3 questions of Richard Lau that is previously. Oh my God, is it? What are you more interested into, marketplaces or SEO traffic domains? What about you? Who is here for which? In which domains do you invest more into? Okay, so you have Domain Easy. Is your marketplace, is it?
I'm a silent investor in it.
Okay.
I'm not an active role.
Okay. Then you are also silent investor or more known investor in Titan Research.
Yeah.
Titan Research is a London-based company that programmatically register domain names.
Yes.
And you have 700,000 domains
Roughly.
now.
Yeah.
So, and Titan Research is known for developing your own tools.
Correct.
Cosmin is kind of your guy there.
Yeah.
Very, very nice and bright guy. So when you develop SEO, when you develop tools that analyze domain names for registering them, as many of you could want, maybe Afnik wants to learn from that as well. And what do you expect those tools to do? When Cosmin comes and delivers a prototype, what do you expect?
I mean, overall, without revealing our secret sauce, the black box, the idea is that it pulls in data from many different sources, and then that it predicts what domain names to purchase. Basically, exactly what I did 25 years ago, saying, okay, well, I think these domain names are going to have type-in traffic or appeal or have value on the resale market. We want that in a black box so that it's not me sitting up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning going through lists. So you're trying to create an AI agent that analyzes all of the data that is available, whether that's public information or whether you're purchasing that data, and trying to guess on what domain names to either register, purchase, buy at auction, what have you. So it's it's trying to programmatically duplicate myself.
And for that, what about French domains in specific? We are in France, and France is unique. There is no other country in the world that has found Google or Facebook or any other corporation as France has, and there is no other country, and mega country like France in the world that Google has left alone, where you can buy and sell backlinks openly, like only in France. Google has said, okay, do whatever you. That is a fact. Yes, guys. Yeah, and also Afnik are not the biggest fanboys of domain investors, and if they catch a domain investor that does some, once it is classified, let me choose the words carefully, as domain investor, not domain investor, but cyber squatter, they will delete all your domain names. Am I correct? They might.
They might.
Yeah, but yes.
That's if you fail to. If legal sends you a request to confirm your registered data and you fail to respond to it in 7 days.
7 days.
What if you go on vacation for 10 days?
And it has happened, and the whole portfolio of yes, it is. So, what do you do with French domains, especially once you so traffic domains? There will be most probably domains that have been used before. And what is your approach towards French, or if you have any? So that is, and then
Yeah,
the questions.
I don't have many, if any. But having said that, you know, in trying to programmatically duplicate myself, wanting to stay away from anything that infringes, any trademarks, etc. You know, when you're doing this en masse, then yes, occasionally you will accidentally come into, there's many word collisions that can become a trademark infringement. And I have always practiced that if I receive a complaint, we hand over the domain. And sometimes we're quite sure we've handed over a domain name to someone who has faked being a trademark owner, but it's just like, whatever, it doesn't, in the volume of life,
Okay.
it doesn't matter. Just
Which ones? Not you have face.com, logo.com. No one can just.
No.
file
It's
something and
usually
get
no. Those are obviously sorry. Like no. It's when you're going into the long tail of programmatically registering domain names. You won't know you own that domain name until you receive an email from someone saying, "Hey, you registered this domain name," and you look at it and you're like, "Well, I guess that could be read that way." Okay. Yeah, we don't need it. We don't care that much about this random domain. You can have it. And so we'll just push it into an account, create a new username and password, and reply to the email saying, "Here's your domain. We don't need it. We don't want it." And that, to me, is the responsible way to handle most of the domains. Having said that, if someone comes and says, "Hey, you own GLD.com. We own an ETF fund, and we've been known by that since 1970. Hand it over." You know, that is a case that happened. I hired 2 law firms to fight it, and they said, "Why are you spending this much money on a domain name that's worth like $300,000?" And my response was, that domain name is worth every single dollar in my entire portfolio, because if I hand this domain name over to you, then someone else is going to come after face.com, or someone else is going to come after hockey.com, someone's going to come after rl.com. So my budget is 8 figures. It's not 300,000. And just so you know, I've got an unlimited budget for in-house counsel, for my counsel to go after your in-house counsel. I mean, this is a billion-dollar company coming after a small guy thinking they can just pressure us to be like, "Oh, the domain's only worth 300,000. We'll get him to spend 500,000 on legal fees, and he'll hand over the domain." I'm like, "Let's go." And so, long story short, they withdrew their complaint. We withdrew our lawsuit. We went on to sell the domain name for 7 figures to another company. So, yeah, in most cases, if it's an accidental collision, absolutely we're handing it off. We don't want that fight. But if it's a domain name that we stand for, like gld.com, rl.com, we will fight to the death.
And dear Italian colleagues and Canadian colleagues, do you
Yeah.
know what is the cost of submitting a
UDRP?
case in France? Do you know what is the
250
number?
or 250 euros or something like that. It's just something
What's
very,
the-
I mean,
The number? 250 euros.
Yeah.
250 euros. Yes. Those.
For CRD, yes.
Yes.
So I mean, if you were,
It's super cheap. Like
Yeah.
anyone can open it.
you may as well roll the dice, right? If you are a complainant, you may as well roll the dice for a .fr. It's 250 euros. For a UDRP, it's a couple of thousand. But if you're a company, you may as well roll the dice. The respondent might be on holiday. They might just be like, it's not worth the fight. It's not worth spending and hiring John Berryhill or, it's just not worth it, right? And that's the case, right? If you've got a complaint on one of our domains, it's not worth the hassle of a UDRP. But if it's a valuable domain, then obviously it's going to be worth it. But yeah, complainants. There's a lot of complainant abuse in the system. The system is built from the perspective of the trademark owners. So there's a lot of preference given to them over domain squatters, which rightly so. But when it does infringe and hurt domain investors, which are legitimate owners and for fair market value.
Thank you. So now we have 15-20 minutes for questions. Yes,
Maybe
please.
no question.
Oh, of course.
I have
And if you could introduce yourself first, please.
sorry.
Just in case, if you could introduce yourself.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Gauthier Rigaud, I am based in France and I'm a professional in the telecom sector and selling IT services to telcos. Also a domainer myself. Not selling a lot, buying. I used to buy a lot to support some next generation services. I have a couple of questions, but please choose, and there might be more interesting question in the room. We are talking about domaining and selling, buying and selling domain names. Dan.com, DAN.com. So my question is, what is your advice in promoting the rent of a domain name or a portfolio of domain names instead of trying to sell or research the sale of one or a couple of domain names? I mean, selling is better because you get money right now. Renting could be a way to, do you think renting could be a way to some cooperation with brokers, and then they take more time to build value over the renting? Then we get the problem of how to securely rent some domain name.
Thank you. So the question is renting or selling? Maybe let's start with Gio and then to Richard.
Yeah, I think Richard is a very good person to respond to this, but like just my 2 cents on. So Dan, used to be this platform where it allows people both to rent and also to have this lease to own program, meaning that you pay a lease and then by the end of where you pay all the installments, then you get the domains.
Which is a fixed, sorry to interrupt, but this is a fixed model.
Yeah.
Because Dan does not offer any other possibilities. Either you buy,
Yeah.
either you allow the renting,
Yeah.
and the price calculation is on
Just a quick correction. There are 3 ways. There is buying, then there is
Selling.
buying with split payments,
Yeah.
and then there is renting as well. You don't buy it out. You just rent it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. So I'm not, I don't think I ever seen personally. For me, like I never experienced a case of just renting. It's also because I feel like from an end user perspective, if you're like paying for like a very expensive domains and then you don't have even an option to get it at the end, then it's quite, you're investing all the money into an asset that is not even yours. So it's, but anyway, just talking from like an investor perspective, here's how I see it. Definitely, if you add a lease to own option, it allows an increase in conversion rate of domains you're gonna sell, because some buyers can't afford to pay right away. So basically, you're gonna increase your sell-through rate. Effectively, you're gonna increase the number of domains that you sell. The drawback of that is that once you're gonna have recurring payments, which at any point like the buyer can default, and 2, you will not be able to have the capital available right away to reinvest in compounding. So that basically affects all your whole equation about how much return you're gonna have based on that. I see like a lot of like very successful like investors that like they use let's say like a strategy like closer to Titan Research where they have like very large volumes, using a lot of lease to own. It affects a lot like your returns basically, because you're not able to compound as much, and some domains are going to default, and then you're going to return back.
Yeah. We could talk all night, but I'll try and make it as quick and short as possible. So yes, there's purchase, and within purchase there's make offer, buy it now. We price all of our domains, even if it's we're quite often leaving money on the table, but every domain name is priced automatically, programmatically. Sometimes we underprice them. That's more often the case than overpricing them. And then you've got, so I don't like my make offer. If I'm, as a buyer's broker, acting and I see someone has make offer, I'm like, if there's one that says what the price is, I'll push my client towards the one that says a price. So I don't like make offer. Buy it now is fantastic. If you've got then the lease to own or the rent. So let's talk about rent for a moment. If you go to venture.com, Kevin Ham's portfolio, all of his domain names are listed for rent. And he does not want to sell them. He doesn't want to give you an option to purchase them. He just wants to rent the domain names. And there's a lot of people that have built businesses around domain names where they are renting off venture.com. I scratch my head because I'm like, why would a buyer want to rent a domain name and never have the opportunity to own it? In fact, when I have even done a lease to own, payment plans with GLD.com as an example, they said, okay, we're going to make payments over 3 years, and then they took it to their board for approval of the payment amount and the payment plan. The board, which I was anticipating, the board looks at this and says, are you crazy? We're going to do a brand change from shopgld.com to just gld.com, and we don't own gld.com? We're a $400 million company. Why would we base it on a domain name that's sitting at, what is it sitting at? escrow.com? We all know escrow.com, but the board members are like, who's escrow.com? We're going to trust them with $400 million?
Can we take the risk?
Right? So then they were like, you're insane, buy the domain. Just buy it right now. So then their next email to me after the board meeting was, yeah, we got it approved, and we need to buy the whole thing up front. Right? So from a buyer's perspective, the more that they are worth, the less likely they are to want to rely on payment plans. Then on the other side, if it's super low, right, it's a $1,200 domain name, and they're on Dan.com, and they're wanting to buy it for $99 per month for 12 months or $100, the likelihood of them making all 12 payments is very low, because if they have to rub their nickels together to pay $100 per month, there's a high chance that they're not going to succeed. So it's that middle ground where they're not worth 400 million and they're buying a domain name for 7 figures and they're not tiny. That's where those the lease to own payments work really well. That's when they're paying, anywhere between say $1,000 and $10,000 per month to make payments on their domain. And then lastly, which is not seen very often, and which I used to do a lot and I don't do anymore, is rental with an option to purchase. And that's where someone's paying a fairly low rate to rent the domain name, but they have an option to purchase it for a very high amount. And Andrew Miller from Hilco convinced me that that is not the best way to do it, both from the customer's point of view, from the seller's point of view, and from the broker's point of view. It's just, it often doesn't close, whereas if that buyer is making a payment plan, they've done a sizable deposit down, they're much more likely to close. Anyway, I feel like I'm monopolizing
And
my
an
conversation.
interesting thing about renting, I can tell one story. 3-4 years ago, maybe 5, I had a telco company, as you come from telco, approaching me. I'm Sunday investor, definitely not like, and I like only 2-letter CCTLD domain names, and they wanted to rent at that point 120 or 150 of my domain names to use them in sending messages. So 2-letter CCTLDs, they are not coins, so they are differently priced. They were prepared to pay very good monthly price, and everything stopped when signing the contract that the domains will not be damaged. Or they will be. So at that point, that is where the telcos stopped. And I have to say those were Indian telcos. But that was a real deal. And for telcos, renting domain names for messaging services, for shortening, is actually something that is very, very good, as you need to have a short space. Any other questions, please? Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a...
Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yes, Mark van der Wal from Ethnic, R&D engineer. I just wanted to add something from what I said before, about that domainer who got his whole portfolio deleted. Well, it likely happened, and I think I know which one because we had to remove the 15,000 or so domains from our training sets because it was such a big outlier that it would screw all our training data for AI that we'd like to train for use. Anyway, so what happens is when AFNIC asks you to prove your data, you have 7 days before responding. To respond, what happens next is your portfolio entirely gets blocked, not deleted. So when you're on vacation, that's the worst thing that can probably happen. Then you have 30 more days.
Okay.
So what happened to that person? Well, he must have been on a very long vacation, I suppose.
Like we passed on a retreat.
15,000, yes?
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes, nice. Any other questions? Gentlemen from the back, what sounds interesting for you?
What just because it's about the few letters, 2 or 3 letters.
Okay, Jenny, yeah, okay.
Domain.
But Richard owns one, just for the record.
A specific question about just was about installation.
And what did sound interesting to you? So in the beginning we were talking about 3-letter and 4-letter floor price of .coms. Yes.
So pricing can be sold, and okay, let's go for a question. Do you have something like trying all combination of letters? Do you try all 2 letters domain regularly and follow the one that will be expired at one time and just try to buy it massively?
Yeah, so for the .com, so the 2-letter combination are, there's 26 letters, then multiply by 26, they're like 676. So it's a very finite number of domains. Now, these domains, they normally not expire because they're very valuable. Let's say like right now at resale, at investor level, it's already challenging to find something around 500K. It's very challenging. Most likely it's a lot more. So these names do not expire, and it's a very limited subset. It's very like few owners, of which Richard is one of them. Maybe you should do like an NFT for the for the 2-letter owners. And also like we run reports, like we try to calculate the percentage of them that are developed. I mean like how many like end users, how many companies use them like to actually run a website. and about a third of them is actually owned by companies that actually use them. Then there's a bunch of them that's like it's just redirected, and then there's a lot of them that are owned by domain investors. So these ones, they rarely, like, they almost never expire. They receive, and Richard can probably confirm, they receive a lot of spam, a lot of brokers and domain investors, and somebody who's listening to this kind of conversation saying, oh, that's cool, I can try to buy one for 10,000. They receive a lot of spam. So and it's a subset of domains that they receive so many inquiries over the years that it's very, let's say the right word is like it's a very efficient, they're very efficiently priced. So it's probably not the best place to find opportunities. You're gonna find opportunities where there's a more asymmetry information, or like, let's say, a new extension is coming up that there's a really big demand from end users, but the investors are still haven't caught up, and so the margin is higher. True-letter domains, it's good because, like any liquid domain, there is a very, there's a floor price. So if you can buy below floor price, then you're gonna make a profit for sure. But it has been so much hit for. It's like that list has been contacted so many times that it's practically it's very unlikely you're gonna have any results.
Okay, and do you follow the new TLD coming up and try to, with the new TLD, do you bet on the, for example, 2-3 letters domain on this new TLD? Do you try every time you see a new TLD to spam, to register this kind of domains, 2-3 letters domain?
I think this. So I personally don't do that. Probably this also like also I think Helmut is a good person, because like you were saying that you also have a lot of like true-letter .ccTLDs. So the things you need to take into consideration is that are you gonna be profitable in selling those true-letter in other extensions? And it might not be necessarily the case. Because the other challenge is this: when new GTLDs come online, a lot of the owners are smart and they want to keep the best domains for themselves, or at least for at least they charge a premium price, so they're not gonna make them available for registration. What it means for you is that if you buy already at a premium price, it means that the margin at which you're gonna resell to an end user is gonna be smaller, because you're not paying whatever the registration fees is. So it's case by case basis, and probably like if you do it accurately at a very large volume and you really but in order to do that, you need to predict the demand that's going to be for these new GTLDs. So the answer is, in short, it's possible, but it's complex. You really need to get your numbers right. Yeah.
And the last one for all of you. .com is definitely a good investment. What about AI? .ai domains in 1-2 sentences maximum. Sure?
I think it's great, but the renewals rate are just so high that you need to factor in the carrying cost, which is gonna decrease your profitability by a lot. So running a portfolio, it can be tough if you don't get your numbers right. Yeah, that's my
Thank you.
truth.
Do you have any thoughts about IE domains?
Yeah,
versus
it's
cons?
it's kind of booming, but yeah, renewal rates can, in fact, if you have a large portfolio, can be something that could lower your return for sure.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think that if you can buy one-word .ai domain names and anticipate one or two that will be picked up by a startup that is well funded, you can 100x your money. So well, maybe not 100x, but at least 10, 15x your money. So but if you are, there are .ai owners who bought them very early on, and they might be willing to, they might have spent only a few $100s on the domain name. They might be willing to sell a one-word .ai for $5,000 to say $5,000. and then you might be able to turn that around and sell it for 150,000. So you only need a couple to make that fund your entire portfolio, and then the rest is you can sell for $20,000 or $30,000 each. So I do think that .ai can be very good. Again, this is not financial advice. It's super high risk, but can be high return.
Thank you all, and please talk to professionals, professional domain investors. Really, our industry is full. At least 95% of people are either they work somewhere to fund their hobby. There are very little percentage of those people who professionally invest into domain names, and sadly most of those 95% they try teaching domain investing online. Please go to professionals who've done it. Really, please. I know few large domainers who pay renewals by taking fast loans. Like, please go to professionals. Thank you for a good session. Thank you.
Thank you.